Hi guys, my name is Dante, and welcome to Black Widow Concepts. So what's happening is we had this giant project that many of you guys aren't needed to be reminded of. So this is a creepy character that may be a part of a series of characters, the first one of which was the Moth Lady. Here's the video if you're interested. That was a small video from a long time ago, just one episode character. And this thing, Black Widow, turned into a giant thing because I wanted to experiment with 3D in here. And many episodes about Black Widow were actually in Blender, not in a drawing app at all. And after we got the product of 3D, having this low poly, low detail scene with perfect geometry and some kind of lighting and whatever colors prepared, we moved it to Art Studio Pro, and I was supposed to keep on working on this as a painting. And this was the first doodle that we did. Then we had this 3D thing, but we didn't actually do anything. Partially that was because I just lost my whole productivity thing during the winter, so we dropped it. But another thing is that I kind of got stuck with it simply because I like this doodle as it is. Like, this looks cool. I really can't find myself turning this into a painting. So the experiment with 3D didn't really work out well. It definitely can work out, but now I know that we should work very differently on it. First of all, we need to have the first stage that doesn't look like this. It should look a lot more elaborate. It should be a good sketch with good body language and whatever. We need to see exactly what we're going for in the sketch and then follow those shapes, that language, and that dynamics. We should create 3D models very differently. And what's important, this whole rendering thing that I did, right here we can see, like, it's almost like a video game screenshot. Initially I was planning to create a 3D sketch, and we didn't get one. This is not a 3D sketch, this is ridiculous. So actually in Spider-Verse process, here's the link, we had a much better take on it. We didn't do the colors. We actually got the 3D sketch and we work underneath it. But even there, we had a problem that I didn't take seriously. The very first stage, we shouldn't create a doodle, we should create a sketch. And the 3D stage should be a lot smaller, a lot simpler. It should be just a guide for a perfect geometry if we need one, if it's necessary, if it makes sense to use 3D, because not every picture needs one. And to be honest, the way we did this scene right here, it doesn't really require 3D. The angle is not that complex, and it's kind of even hard to imagine. It should be something crazy like this kind of, you know, weird geometry with everything going crazy, like you're looking through a fisheye lens or something. And this is not the case. We have a whole bunch of characters in here, and they won't really work well with a very strong perspective. Or maybe they will, but I don't know how to do that yet, maybe, or I couldn't just imagine how to put this together. And it all ended up with this very classical kind of composition and just storytelling situation. Anyway, the point is, today we're gonna go back to the very first stage. So we're gonna go with this, knowing everything we did before. The whole idea is pretty much the same. So she's a Black Widow, she's wearing this weird dress of unknown material that is kind of glossy. It's very black and it's crawling all over the floor. And all of these kids around this, it's like her kids, probably. And the whole place is probably an old abandoned orphanage. Everything has a style of an old Victorian times. And what's happening here is that, first of all, Black Widow is pregnant, so more kids are coming. And she's feeding her kids raw meat. And they're all gathering around because this is the feast time. And suddenly we opened the door and saw this whole scene, and they're looking back at us. Everyone, every single character in the picture are looking at us. So there, that's what's going on. And we're gonna repeat that, most likely. I'm not gonna just perfectly stick to whatever we had. If I'll have some other ideas, or you guys have some other ideas, we can definitely change whatever we want. But generally, this is the concept that we're following. So let's start sketching. Not a stupid doodle, but an actual awesome sketch. The process itself won't be super huge, so let's probably concentrate on just the looks of the Black Widow herself. And then the next episode we'll maybe make a concept of a kid, and in the next episode it may be the whole scene or something like that. I'll even go with a bigger brush, and I'm just gonna be looking for shapes this way. Victorian dress. I like this one. First result. Well done, Google. Now to fit a pregnant woman into that. Feels kinda sick, but the story is kinda sick. So I'm trying to find some kind of a twisted shape, twisted posture. It has to have so much things going on at the same time. A twisted pose, the pregnancy thing that should be really like impressive, I guess. The Black Widow that's like fertile in a gross way, and all these weird children around. Wow, when you're really thinking on this, not with 3D and just a verbal idea, but when you're actually start drawing with your hand, looking for the shape, it becomes a lot more personal, and this story is not that okay as it was when it was just a 3D project. Ish. So the dress is gonna be longer, obviously. And you see what I did there? It's like very narrow. We see like the back outline, the butt, and then it goes lower like that. Okay, pregnant woman Victorian dress. Victorian dress pregnant. It's really hard to imagine how it's supposed to work. Oh, like that. So it's like a fakey corset thing. It's not really doing this tightness on the belly area. It's just laying on top. Okay, we can work with that. Look at that butt. Okay, we should implement this whole idea somehow. We almost did anyway, right? It's just a bit more crazy of a profile as we need it to be. So let's contain those breasts in such a package right here. Really cool stuff with this. Alright, she's holding a basket. I think we still need all of that. Let's do the twisted pinky. No twisted character should leave their pinkies at bay or something. Having this crazy angle right here created the basic cross at the necessary rotation at the necessary angle. And from that, I just built the nose, and then I followed over here to see where the ears will be. And this is the line of the eyebrows. That's a very long neck. I wanted a long neck, but I hope it's physically possible kind of neck. Alright, we're getting a pretty cool shape right here. This dynamics is really nice. I don't know if I want to make it a bit more spiky. I made her face turn away from the camera a bit more than what we had in the initial concept. And I actually think I like it more simply because look at the silhouette we get. Considering this is not a portrait in any meaning, like she's gonna be standing pretty far away from the camera, like even a bit smaller than the way we drew it right now on this canvas. From that distance, having details of the face is not really a way to show the character well. The silhouette will work much more powerfully. So maybe it's a good idea that we have a good outline of the nose. Ooh, let's actually open her mouth. That may look actually very creepy too. Like not completely seeing what the expression on the face is. But you know, it's gotta be something special because her mouth is wide open. Like she's screaming or maybe just has her mouth open. And you wanna figure out what's up, but you can't really see her face that well. That might work out pretty cool. How do you open a mouth at this angle? Even stronger. This is gonna be a mouth character. Something we did in the Scream episode. Like so awkwardly, strongly open that she's gonna have like wrinkles in here. Going like crazy. Like The Ring kind of thing. Let's give it a try. And of course, eyes should really be appropriate with the mouth. As much as we can see them. Well, this looks ridiculous right now. Yeah, I think the stare, it was too conscious, like she was looking somewhere with an open mouth. That felt really weird. Eyes should be a lot more, like she's in trance, right? She's in a state. Okay, this doesn't look like a decent haircut. This looks like just something stuck to her head. We should look it up, this kind of haircut, hairstyle. I have no idea how to search for it though. Like close to this, but no. Okay, women of Victorian times, why don't you put your hair together? Don't you have 50 children to feed? Okay, so they don't seem to have that style that I was going for. I have no idea what it's called, and I can't find a single reference for this kind of a separate giant ball of hair at the back. So let's go with something that we can see as a reference from Victorian Google. I want her to have a huge amount of hair. It's important that she has very long black hair. And it's also important that it's put together because she has a lot of work to do. She has so many kids. So this is the closest thing to what we need. It's almost the same thing, but not as much in the back. And we have some stuff hanging like over the ears somehow. So yeah, let's search that. I can see they love to split their hair in half. Okay, this neck is way too long. That feels a bit more natural, that she's actually tilting her head even further away, and it's not pushing that much in here, because that's why you tilt your head away, so you have more room for the jaw opening. So that's why it felt even weirder. I'm not saying we're totally fixing everything with this, but it became a bit better, I think. Okay, does this look legit? It like almost has logic about how the hair goes, but not quite. Should we maybe, like, she looks a bit too real with her expression, like a bit of a comedy look. Should we really go with just a boring 12-year-old goth kind of artwork of having no irises in the eyes? Because this looks right away much better to balance out the realistic and kind of an awkward face with this special hint on, oh yeah, this is actually horror because she doesn't have any eyes. Well, this way she looks like she's been singing some opera, and we suddenly entered the door and she's like awkward about it. So for now, let's keep it this way. Yeah, I know I said every character was looking at us when we entered the room, but I actually remembered, I think everyone except the widow herself, because she's somewhere else, doing her own thing in her head. Okay, I'm kinda really digging what's going on so far. Let's finish the body. I think I more or less like what I'm looking at right now. Not sure what else to add in the sketch area here. More wrinkles on the dress. Now let's go ahead and shade it a bit, the way we did in the black and white to color episodes. So I'm gonna fill in the whole character with a transparent black layer, and then we'll see what we can do in overlay on top. Alright, so I guess this is mostly it. Maybe add some color variation on the skin, and then we can shade it a little bit in a separate layer in multiply or darken. Let's actually try shading in overlay as well. Let's see what happens. The point is, I want to add shadows, but I also want to add brighter light. So I want to get things brighter as well, and overlay is the mode that will let us do that. So below middle brightness will give us darker results, and above middle is gonna give us brighter. So let's go with cool shadows and just bright lights. Now, I'm not sure this contrast will work very well. We should probably do multiply, and if we want to go brighter, for that we may use overlay, yeah. Alright, so this is what we're getting so far. Already looks like a stylized painting, and I barely did anything, just colorized the sketch and decided on some shadows. So I chose the hue and saturation, right? I have this sky blue, almost desaturated, and I'm choosing different brightnesses, so very close to white is where I'm adding these smaller, more subtle shadows that will work for face details, for instance. And then whenever I go deeper, I just lower this and add new details from there. Then I also decided to add basic shading of the whole figure by adding somewhat like this, a bit brighter shadow, defining where the Terminator is from the main light source. So everything that is painted with this dark color right here is completely facing away from the main light source that's obviously on top over our Black Widow. So this is a good way to start shading, probably. And this horizontal plane right here, it is facing the light source, so it's getting brighter. And we immediately get this feeling that there's some kind of light from the top. Maybe some projected shadow from the Widow on herself, creating like soft shadow on this backside, because the light source is probably over here hitting like that, so it's casting a shadow on this area. So yeah, that's the idea. That's how we get the basic shape. If we would go further to creating a finalized painting out of just this one character. Now let's give it a try with adding the brights with the overlay. Probably only the top half of the character will have a good sense of adding that kind of stuff like this. So let's work through this frontal plane of the face, for instance. This stuff is facing the light source for sure. Some of this stuff is facing the camera. And a little bit on the belly, of course. Boom! We have really bright lights. Obviously overdid it like crazy with the wrinkles on the face, but again, this is a good start. And then we can go through the layer of shadows, the layer of colors, the layer of highlights, and tweak these details as we please. And then of course we move on with merging all the layers, maybe even skipping the sketch layer, like we don't really need it to continue working on this. We can keep it on top. Check on it sometimes to see if we're doing alright with our initial idea. And of course, after merging everything, we can add highlights. Or we can add highlights in a separate layer on top. It's just that it should have the color of the light source and not the color of the object, so it should be a separate layer with no relation to the initial color of the surfaces. Just the same bright yellow I'm using because it's probably some kind of bright yellow array of candles on the chandelier, the way we did it in the 3D concept back then. But of course, the metallic details, they should have a special case for highlights because metals are colorizing highlights. This is kind of cool looking. And this way we have like black and white concept art. Tweak the opacity of the sketch, probably something like that. Or a colorful version, or a little bit colorful version. The wonders of layers. So yeah, let's call this done for the Black Widow concept. Tell me guys what you think in the comments. Look forward for the kids concept. We'll see where it goes. And I thank you for watching if you did. I guess you did if you're here. Leave a like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Open your mouth wide for a while without saying anything. Do whatever you want. And I will see you in the next one. Bye! Man, this feels so much better to just build the picture when you're actually just sketching or maybe painting right away. Comparing to 3D, like I had no idea what kind of a character she would be when it was 3D. It was still so faceless.